Hey everyone, it's me, Whimsy. So we're going to throw cards today, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the videos I did a couple of days ago. The first thing I want to talk about is the Muller report. I did meditation a couple of times. I've tried to meditate on the Muller report and just see where my thoughts go, see where my intuition goes. You know, what do I pick up? And what I picked up when I focused on the Muller report was a very small part of the investigation, focusing on the Trump Tower meeting and the people that attended that meeting, Manafort, Kushner, Don Jr., etc. So people have gotten upset because it looks like Mueller is farming parts of the investigation out, and it looks like it's being broken into smaller investigations. Other people have said, no, it's not possible for Barr to limit the mandate of Mueller without, it would be very difficult to do that. I don't know. I don't know how these things work. I can only say that it feels more restricted when I go into the energy. And it looks like Mueller is more controlled when I go into the energy. And it looks like Mueller is being asked to focus on a smaller portion of the investigation. How to interpret that, I don't know. And the fact that I was only able to see a small portion of the investigation. Now, it could be that there is something going on where, for whatever reason, I can only see one part of the investigation. Or it means that the portions of the Mueller report that are not redacted, that we're allowed to see, focus on that one aspect of the report. I would imagine if something gets released soon, it would not include pending trials, etc., 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 and would only focus on those portions of the investigation that are already completed. And the testimony of Hope Hicks and the meeting at Trump Tower seemed to be this, and President Donald Trump helping his son change his testimony before Congress, lying to the feds, etc. All of that seemed to be the majority of where my mind went as I meditated on the Mueller report. That doesn't mean that that's all there is to the Mueller report, but I think it's significant that that is what I saw, or the majority of what I saw. Look, if it's a huge giant report and we get to see everything, that's great, but energetically it just doesn't look like that to me. The other thing that keeps coming up every time I go into the energy is I just see William Barr. I just see William Barr having some kind of stress or being upset because he didn't realize how dysfunctional it had become. He walks into it just feels to me like William Barr has walked into a very, very dysfunctional environment, and if he had lunch with the president, or if there was some interaction with the president recently in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, it just feels to me like some interaction took place between William Barr and Trump that has led William Barr to suspect that Trump's mental health is questionable. This keeps coming up over and over and over again, that Republicans are starting to question the mental health of Donald Trump. They used to think he was a little quirky, a little odd, a little wild, a little crazy, a little out there. That is not how things are shaping up. It feels to me, as I move forward in the energy, like this is really gaining more steam than the Russia investigation or anything else. It's this growing concern on the part of Republicans that the president is mentally ill, and that his duties have to be, that they need to make his responsibilities smaller and smaller and smaller in order to cope with all of the potential disasters that the president can create. Sorry, but that's what it looks like. So I want to go ahead and throw cards to see how Trump's week is going to go, because that is the main thing that I would walk away from in terms of how the week is shaping up. And I've said this for the last couple weeks now, is we will see a rise in conversation from most likely some of it coming from the GOP, questioning whether or not Trump is mentally well. All right, so let's go ahead and shuffle how Trump's week is going to go. And then after that, I want to have a conversation about Hillary Clinton, because I've been really wondering about whether or not, even though she had said she was not going to run for president, I'm curious about what would happen if she actually did. So I'm going to throw cards on her. But let's first start with taking a look at Donald Trump. And I just want to find out how his week's going to go. Let's take a look. How will Donald Trump's week go? How is the week ahead for Donald Trump? So, our base card, the Hierophant, the Godhead, the way, the ethics and the beliefs that one governs by, one lives by. Three of Cups inverted is also coming in. A Three of Cups inverted can be an end of a celebration, or if there was a party or a time of rejoicing, it may have come to an end. The Hierophant is an interesting card because I have said, well, it's how we look towards God or Spirit. But another way of looking at Hierophant is basically our fundamental ethics. And it's interesting that this comes up as a base card for how the week is going, because it's probably going to be a week where we talk about ethics in the United States, how we view ethics, and the ethics of this president. Where Trump is right now, he feels like he can't win. I know that he's had several things happen in the last couple weeks. He didn't get an agreement with North Korea out of the meeting in Vietnam. It's interesting. I go into his energy, and he feels cranky. He feels angry. He's complaining. He feels like he's surrounded by idiots, that people screw everything up. He gives them simple tasks and they screw it all up. And so he sits there bitching and complaining. Sorry to put it like that, but that's how it feels. And being extremely cranky, believing that everybody around him is an idiot. That's how it feels. We have double aces inverted for the president. Extreme loss of money, extreme loss of, can't get things off the ground, failure of leadership, failure to get new projects going. Ace of Wands, like I said, the wand traditionally, if you look at it from ancient traditional archetypes, the person who carried the staff carried the wisdom and the authority of the tribe. To have an inverted Ace of Wands is suggestive of someone who has lost their authority or their ability to lead or carry out a leadership position. And if you have an Ace of Wands crossing an inverted Ace of Pentacles, we're still seeing a challenge with Trump getting the funding or the financial support or the financial backing that he wants. And it could indicate in the future a possible withdrawal of financial support by Republican donors, and they could be looking to fund another candidate besides this candidate. This does not bode well for this president's future at 2 inverted aces. And then what sits above him, 4 of Wands is coming in. This card, as I had said, April, could be a time when we start to see things changing. This is the 4th month. I read Wands as month cards. Every reader is different. Every reader has a different interpretation. That's what I chose. So another way of looking at it is that it could be over in 1 month, right? We could read it that way because we have an Ace of Wands inverted and we have a 4 of Wands moving into position in the 4th house. What we are manifesting, the ideal situation. We'd like to see this resolved by April. And what we sit in Hanged Man. President is thinking of hanging it up. Either number 1, he doesn't get his border wall money, or he's just trying to decide what battles he can win versus what battles he can't win. You can see here coming out of intense frustration an inverted Knight of Swords. Anger, frustration, tying yourself in knots, not getting... It's the guy who's running around in circles, angry, frustrated, shouting, yelling, but doesn't appear to get anything done. It's a feeling of being angry and disempowered. That's the best way I could describe an inverted Knight of Swords. It's someone, that feeling you get when you're really, really angry, and you know that the angrier you get, the weaker you appear. 8 of Cups. Inability to leave something that you've worked hard at. So an 8 of Cups is somebody, is the energy of somebody who's worked very, very hard at something and then has to let the thing go that they have worked hard on. However, with this type of placement between an inverted Knight of Swords and an inverted 8 of Cups, it looks to me more like a feeling of somebody who is disempowered, yelling, screaming, tying themselves up in knots and can't let it go. It almost has an obsessive compulsive aspect to it. Can't let it go, can't walk away, tied up in knots, can't get ahead, losing money, losing power, losing respect, losing authority. And the issue of whether or not he can let certain things go. He fixates. You know, this feels like a fixation. Where he's at right now, oh, Ace of Swords, winning, right? Like a feeling like Ace of Swords is a feeling like winning, victory. Either you could interpret it, well, he's delusional, or he's somebody who really believes that he has the ability to succeed where others can't. So it gets into that conversation, is the president delusional, or does he believe his own hype, his own self-promotion? Inheritance, money, hopes and fears that he's on his own, that he doesn't have backing or support from others. The final outcome, grief. So it just kind of reiterates this fact that it won't end. It just goes on and on and on. And it's also the complaint that the Republicans have that they have given to Barr. I keep hearing Republicans saying to William Barr that this investigation has shut Washington down, that nothing can get done and it's all anyone talks about. But an inverted 5 of Cups, it just feels to me like it's every time this president turns around, somebody else is suing him. Somebody else is creating a problem for him. He does truly believe that he can overcome everything. You know, he's very optimistic about, you know, people have said he's delusional, but He believes he is the smartest person in the room. He believes that he's going to be very successful. He believes he is the greatest president of all time. The final outcome, inverted swords, anger, frustration, impotence, cranky, a feeling of not having control over the situation. I just see it increasingly isolated, increasingly frustrated, cranky, confused. The thing that's most disturbing about this card chart is that it suggests that there may be some confusion, anger and confusion about what's good. If this was a mental health issue suggestive of dementia or pre-dementia, which is what the psychiatric community is suggesting, with cards like this and with the feeling I get, I would say that if it's dementia, it's progressing very rapidly. And it's really up to the GOP to figure out how to, and Congress, etc., how are they going to deal with this? Because to be honest with you, looking at these cards, other than removing responsibilities from the president and trying not to overwhelm him by giving him too much to do, it's getting to a point where they won't be able to hide the progression of his disease much longer. That's how I would interpret these cards. I'm sorry to say that, but that is how I interpret it. All right, so just growing frustration, growing anger, growing temperamental behavior from the president, growing frustration, growing delusions, a belief that he's going to win, belief that he's the greatest, belief that he's going, where he is at, victory, success in war, I'm winning. This reminds me of, I keep thinking about this, German radio as the Russians and Americans were marching on Berlin. Everybody was listening to German radio talking about how the Germans were winning as the Russians were marching on to Berlin. And even in the bunker, as the Allies were marching on to Berlin, Hitler believed he was winning the war. So I know that's a bizarre thing to say, but looking at this president's cards, that is exactly what it looks like. He is, I think he is completely completely disconnected from reality about how he doesn't currently have the mental wherewithal to understand the severity of his situation, and I don't think anyone can explain it to him. That's the best way to put it. Jeez. So that's what I see. Okay, so I want to go ahead and look at Hillary. I've been thinking a lot about Hillary Clinton lately. I know not everybody likes her, and she has a really interesting past. I just want to see what would happen. Let's throw the cards and ask what would happen if Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2020. I know some of you are like, Whimsy, don't do that. But let's just go ahead. Let's see how far she gets if she joins the race. What will be? Should Hillary Clinton enter the race? Hillary Clinton 220. What would happen? What would happen if Hillary Clinton ran the race in 220? Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton run in 220. Should Hillary Clinton run in 220? All right. I mean, honestly, I don't think she's completely resolved about not running. There's, she's talking to people about it. She's getting ideas. She is seriously thinking about this. I don't think she is completely thrown in the towel. Five of Wands is a really interesting card. It's been described as a group of actors putting together a theater. It looks like the people are fighting, but actually nobody's hitting anybody with the wands. They're simply lifting the wands as if they're constructing something. And I have read that what they're constructing is a theater or a performance of some type, which I think is a really lovely interpretation of the Five of Wands. The actors are setting up to perform the act. They're working together as an ensemble to make this act or this performance take place. Four of Swords holds the coin. It has a frugality aspect to it, but I have also looked at it as a Buddhist would look at it, where he holds up the coin and he's almost holding it up as if it looks like a mirror telling you to examine the nature of one's own life. And so even though it's not the traditional meaning of the Four of Pentacles, I have often looked at the Four of Pentacles as a time to stop and reflect on one's life. Particularly if one is feeling like they are out of control or they don't have control of their life financially. Sometimes when we don't have control over our life financially, it can speak to having a lack of control in other aspects of our lives as well. Because money is energy. And so, does she want to put her money in this area? Does she want to begin this act, this performance, taking a hard look at the situation, both financially, both in terms of the work? What's interesting here when you have a Five of Wands is that it suggests that other people are willing to help you. And so what I like about this for her is that it suggests that others are willing to help her should she decide to run in 220. She will have cooperation, but whether or not she wants to take it on is really up to her. What is over her? She gets her wish. If she chooses to go on that stage with another 20-something people, however many are going to be part of that initial debate, she will perform well. Very well. There is something to be said about the humility it would take for her to start all over again and be on that stage as just another candidate. And so with an inverted Knight of Pentacles right over her, it would suggest that even though she would do well, there's still a hesitation on her part to actually go forward with this. But I do feel or sense a tremendous amount of respect that she would be given from her colleagues and from others simply because she had the humility and the strength and determination to try again. So with that comes a certain amount of respect. But I think people have to really realize the extent to which the last 3 years have been brutal to Hillary Clinton. I mean, there's just no other way to describe it. Even if you don't like her, you have to admit that the campaign that was run against her was one of the most brutal that's ever been run against any candidate, probably in American history. And so for that reason, there's some real trauma associated with running again. There's a part of her that really would rather just stand in the background and have fun and enjoy her life and be more of a commentator than actually a participant. And it's this history of trauma that I think really is going to underscore her decision not to run. Where she's at right now, she's traveling, she does not like this president, she does not like the current administration. I mean, she really does think of them as evil, psychotic, mentally ill. She really has issues with this administration, but A Knight of Wands suggests she's not stagnant, she's not sitting back, she's just at this time ruling out any possibility of running for president. But she herself is quite busy, quite active. Hopes and fears, well, she fears her own health, her own emotional health, her own fortitude, her own ability to handle another run. An inverted Queen of Cups, dreamy, spaced out, emotional health of the Queen. An inverted Queen of Cups could be emotionally distraught. So the emotional health associated with running again is probably the main thing I'm picking up here. And then the final outcome for her, smoother waters ahead. Clarification. I just don't know if she wants to go through the trauma of running again, because there's so much trauma associated with running. If she did run again, she would do well. There's a good chance she would be elected. I mean, that's the great irony. Just because the outcome is an inverted Seven of Cups is the clarification, not being able to choose, and then coming out of the mist or the cloud or the confusion and making a definitive decision. So, no, I don't think she's going to run. I think she's leaning definitely no. I think she wants to have fun. I think she, unlike Biden, she feels like she's too old for this. She had her time. She wants to enjoy her grandchildren. She wants to travel. She wants to write. And I think she would like to sit back and do a little commentary. Also, I think she's interested in advocating for some causes that she feels pretty strongly about. I keep seeing her over Flint, Michigan, so she might be involved in some of the issues going on the political trail. But as of now, even though her cards are quite good, she still doesn't want to run. Okay, that about wraps it up, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're still trying to get in for readings, I will be back on Tuesday taking tarot readings. I opened up Tuesday evenings for readings part-time just because people had asked me, and so yeah, now I'm available Tuesdays too. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye. What the heck's wrong with me? I can't look away. I've been watching this cat TV for an hour. Can't look away.